to the verdict in the case of a former Hilton principal. Plus, trash complaints, how the company explains what went wrong in Webster. And why Rochester's ballpark might not be called Frontier Field for much longer.
Hey, I realize it's a scary thought, but Halloween is just about a week away. As a matter of fact, it is a week away. It's going to be warm early next week. We'll look ahead to that in this week. Next.
From your breaking news and weather authority on Fox Rochester, this is 13 Wham News at 10.
He was once an elementary school principal in Hilton. Now Kirk Ashton is convicted of abusing students at that school. Convicted because victims came forward and testified.
Boys can move forward knowing that they were heard and believed. The families can start trying to figure out how they get their boys back to where they were before, if possible.
This conviction happened because some people who saw something said something. Good evening, I'm Doug Embledge. A jury found Kirk Ashton guilty of 46 of the 50 counts against him, including charges of sexual abuse. Kirk Ashton is only 52, but today's conviction for crimes involving 21 boys could put him in prison for decades, perhaps for the rest of his life.
And the only comfort I can offer is that we've met with the new principal at Northwood, and she's fabulous. But beyond that, I don't think there was any comfort when Kirk Ashton ruled that school. None. None in 17 years. And I think the comfort they can take is that it finally has come to a conclusion, and they can finally start to move forward.
Van Stryden called Ashton a vile predator, saying he had an endless supply of boys at the school. The victims were all students at Northwood Elementary at the time of the abuse, which took place in Ashton's office.
We started 3 weeks ago, with one of the smallest in stature victims, but the most courageous of all of them, as the one that told his mom, was heard, was listened, and was believed finally after 17 years of this man being the ruler at the school. And having his way with as many children as he so chose to.
Ashton's attorney says he sees grounds for an appeal.
He didn't have anything to say, okay? So we were disappointed, but it's curious that we're dealing essentially with identical proof for all in testimony that two of them were acquitted. He was acquitted on two of them, but convicted on the others, which I find a little problematic and something that he's going to have to address on appeal.
Sentencing is set for November 23rd. Ashton is also facing a civil suit that also names the Hilton School District. Reaction tonight now from the father of one of the victims. 13 Wham's Carla Rogner reports today's verdict is not much of a celebration for those families.
Yeah, Doug, the father I spoke with tonight says he's glad to see justice served, but it doesn't make his family feel much happier. He says he's angry at the school.
We feel like it should have been stopped. That's what a father of one of Kirk Ashton's many victims says in response to the jury's guilty verdict. In a statement, he says, why were the teachers and staff scared to do something about it, or didn't know what to do about it? That's a very bad sign for an organization, and we doubt the ability of its current leadership. He worries dozens more Northwood Elementary students were victimized by Ashton, saying many parents will never even know what their sons went through. That's what makes this tragedy even more sad. Several civil suits are pending in federal court against Ashton and the Hilton Central School District. An attorney representing 4 victims and their families says this verdict is fair, but he also wonders whether staff members who are required to report suspicions of child abuse failed to do so.
The school district and the teachers and the administrative staff and anybody who was in that school knew about this, had to have known about this, or should have known about this. There's no way only Mr. Ashton knew. There were people outside his door every day, kids, young boys were being shipped in and out of that office, and all the teachers knew it.
The initial complaints against Ashton were reported after a student recognized the abuse during a training session with Bivona. The Child Advocacy Center educates students and staff on what abuse looks like and what to do about it.
Everyone needs to be able to identify, to be able to prevent, and to be able to stop it.
That education for both students and staff in Hilton schools has intensified since the accusations against Ashton came to light.
We certainly review what mandated reporter means, and that it is exactly that the mandate is to report. And also, we want to make sure that adults really understand that it's everyone's responsibility. Like, it's a responsibility, legal and otherwise.
Several staff members did testify in the trial. Prosecutors would not say whether there could be more action against school employees.
The community of Hilton is in pain. And right now we're going to celebrate what we just did here in this courtroom. And we're going to just see what happens in the next day.
The Hilton Central School District declined an interview, but shared a statement in part saying the district is humbled by the courage and commitment of all who were victimized, including present and former students and their families.
And in January, the district shared updated protocols to prevent further abuse in schools, including guidelines for student and staff interaction, ensuring safe environments, and more communication with parents and families. Bivona is also working with some of Ashton's victims to help them with the healing process. In the newsroom, I'm Carla Rogner.
All right, Carla, thank you. Some neighbors in Webster are raising a bit of a stink over some uncollected garbage. The complaint started after their original trash collection company, Lilac Disposal, was bought out by Casella in the late summer. And while neighbors were told there wouldn't be a disruption in service, there was.
They never came on Sunday. Monday, finally, they came. So when we called today, they told us that it was going to be until this upcoming Friday when they would be able to get to us because they didn't have any emergency trucks available. So we thought it was going to be almost 3 weeks.
Well, Masters trash did end up being picked up today, so hers was a 2-week ordeal. The Webster Town Supervisor says supervisors in other towns have reported similar problems in similar situations. Now, we did reach out to Casella tonight and received this statement, which says in part, we feel that the issues are well behind us now, that a recent rerouting effort has helped, and that our teams are now adequately staffed to efficiently service the affected customers appropriately. All right, we're going to turn to the weather now, and feeling somewhat like summer today. It was a gorgeous fall day. The colors in, I guess, full display. Scott joins us now to share how long the warm temperatures, how long this beautiful fall weather might last.
Yeah, you know, it's not going to be much longer for at least the warm part of the beauty of this fall season, but it's the best time of the year for a lot of people. They love October, and why not? When you see this, 73 again tomorrow, another nice day. Wednesday's your transition day. That's when the clouds come in, maybe a few showers, and then temperatures go downhill Thursday, Friday, and even into Saturday, back in the 50s to near 60. Wham-Cam is at a Heinz 57. Right now, the air pressure is over 30 inches. That's usually a good number for fair weather. We're in the mid-50s now and through the overnight. A lot of double nickels at you there through 5 a.m. And that's where we'll start tomorrow morning. School day weather by the afternoon. The kids will be dreaming. The hardest word I have to spell is on your TV right now. Terrific. I always mess it up, but I didn't today. Milder air, son. Good thing we have autocorrect on my computer. We're looking ahead to Halloween. Ooh, coming up.
The candidates for governor in New York will meet for their only debate tomorrow in Manhattan. And tonight in Florida, it was incumbent Ron DeSantis and former governor and former Republican Charlie Crist. Crist trails in the polls in this governor's race, but he has been looking to score points by saying DeSantis has presidential aspirations that could cut short his next term as governor.
You're the governor of Florida right now. You won't even say if you want to be the governor of Florida after this election, but you are right now.
The only worn-out old donkey I'm looking to put out to pasture is Charlie Crist.
You're the most anti-business governor I've ever seen.
That's time, Congressman. Governor?
Yeah, except for all the businesses that are moving down here and leading the nation in net in-migration. And I'm proud.
DeSantis did refuse to answer the question from Crist regarding his presidential aspirations. The midterms are just 2 weeks from tomorrow, but early voting is just days away. It begins this Saturday and continues through November 6th. For early voting locations, head to 13wham.com. Controversy in Webster after 3 R.L. Thomas students have been seen in a photo on social media with their faces painted black. It was during last Friday's homecoming football game against Wilson. Cheyenne Walker spoke with a Webster parent who was at the game, and she is hoping this incident can become a teachable moment.
Friday night Night Lights, a time for students to support their home team and show school spirit. But at last week's Webster Thomas homecoming game, some say a handful of students went too far.
I honestly believe that as 14-year-olds, they're just being dumb, they're being stupid, they don't understand the insensitivity of blackface. I think this should be used as a teachable moment for our kids.
A picture begins circulating on social media of 3 students wearing Webster sports gear with their faces painted black. Webster parent Karen Iglesias, who covers high school games for the nonprofit media sports platform Primetime 585, was at the game.
I do believe it's stupidity. I do believe that they were just trying to be funny. And sometimes when it comes on to racial stuff, funny is not funny.
The district sent a letter to Webster family Saturday evening saying it is investigating the incident, adding, quote, racial insensitivity or any other form of hate is unacceptable. Webster CSD rejects hate and intentional harm in all of its forms and remains committed to working as a community in opposition to it.
It just didn't feel malicious to me, but that's just me. I can't, I just don't think 14-year-olds their lives should be ruined for something like this.
Iglesias says this situation should be a learning experience, and the best solution is to educate students about the history of blackface and racial injustice.
We have to embrace history, whether we like it or not. This is the real stuff, right? So yes, I do believe we have to teach more about slavery, about blackface, about Jim Crow laws. All of that has to be a part of the curriculum so kids that are 14 years old understand, this is not good.
Cheyenne Walker, 13 Wham News at 10 on Fox Rochester.
All right, still ahead on Fox Rochester tonight. The arrest announced today in the disappearance of a 5-year-old girl. And next, new information about the suspect in the deadly shooting today at a school in